Also traffic Bonanza 5503 Delta, we're about 5 to the east on a practice RNAV straight in for 31 full stop, Wausau.
Welcome back to 03 Delta today. We're actually on the ground, but there's always a chance to learn something new. This footage happens to be from a quick flight to test out some GAMI injectors. I'm working to switch over to lean of peak operations. Martin Pauly did a good synopsis of that recently, so head on over to his channel if you want to learn more on that subject. There's a link up at the top. Since I was up, there's always an opportunity to practice something, work on some muscle memory. So I flew the RNAV in, but all on a visual. I didn't have a safety pilot that day. Even still, it does help with building a mental model and learning buttonology on the avionics, power settings, workflows. So it's still a good little exercise. But today what we're really talking about is all the data that we can look at later on the ground to augment things like video footage. As the old saying goes, the cockpit is a terrible classroom. You can see the overlays I've got up now. Those are all pulled from data that was logged by my G5s. Here you can watch both the graph and the CDIs as I approach the glide slope at the final approach fix. I've used Garmin as an online logbook for a bit now through Garmin Pilot. And it always did have the GPS tracks and altitude uploaded, so I never really dug much further. But I recently saw that you could upload the data logs from the G5, so gave that a go. I found some pretty handy features from doing some post-flight training debriefs, especially for things like instrument approaches. Upload itself is pretty simple. Once you have the file from the SD card on the avionics, it's just a simple upload box in the upper right. Once it's uploaded and processed, it automatically associates it to the various logbook entries based on time. From there you can dig into all sorts of additional info compared to just your typical GPS ground speed, track, and altitude that you'd normally get. Here you can see even my altitude bug usage, or I can flip to another view to compare airspeed versus ground speed, which would help for things like understanding what winds aloft were like that day. And here's another view that can show things like my vertical speeds that I was achieving for both climbs and descents. So if you've got any of the newer Garmin avionics, check and see if you've got some new data to play with there after the flight to learn from. And if you've got any other interesting scenarios that you find it's good for, let us know in the comments. I'll let the rest of the approach play out from here. I can't just leave things hanging in midair, but thanks for watching, and always be learning.
Green light, pointer is down.
What's the traffic? Medivac has got to 5 miles north-northeast of the future, 2500, going north. What's up?
Also traffic Bonanza 5503 Delta on final 31 full stop, Wausau. Wausau southbound. Wausau traffic Bonanza 03 Delta on final 31 full stop, Wausau. What's the traffic? Medivac helicopter 10 miles north of the future, 2500, going north. Final call, what's up? What's the traffic?
downwind for 31 Plaza.